Good evening, Mr. Gavi.
Good evening, Mrs. Genta.
So welcome back from Montpellier. I need a study class on how to pronounce this term. How was your visit to the agro conference?
It was very interesting.
So how does the theme and the activities for the event relate to what you're doing in Zambia?
Well, the World Congress on Agroforestry talks about all ways of combining agroforestry, meaning trees, with agriculture. And our work at Sahara Cell Foods is about taking wild, native trees, looking at what they can give that would be edible, and then turning that into quality foods. And then teaching smallholder farmers to get these trees to grow in their fields again in order to regreen the environment here.
Wow, so the focus looks like around afforestation, climate change issues, and all those culprits. Well, what do you think, how do you think agriculture relates to being a culprit in climate change issues?
Well, agriculture is not a culprit, but many experts say it's the biggest culprit to climate change in our world. And the reason for that are several. First of all, we've cleared all the land in order to make agricultural areas. And usually that was forests, bush, shrublands that was cleared, and all that carbon got burnt and sent up into the atmosphere.
Wow.
Second of all, the biggest carbon sink in the world is not actually trees and vegetation, but it's the soil.
Wow.
It's the carbon that has been accumulating in the soil over hundreds of years, sometimes even thousands of years. And when we clear land for agriculture, and we start tilling that soil in order to work it faster, we actually start releasing all that carbon back into the atmosphere. So we have a lot of carbon just going from the land up into the air. And then third of all, when we do modern industrialized agriculture, we're doing chemical fertilizers. They're all based on petroleum. We're using heavy machinery to run our fields. And then we have this whole transport logistics chain related to what we produce in our fields in order to keep some produce cool, in order to ship it from this and that place to the world. And say 100 years ago, everybody in the world more or less was eating things that were grown in the village around where they lived. But nowadays, you may be sitting here in Zander in Niger, eating rice from China and oil from Indonesia.
Wow.
But there's a cost in terms of climate to that. There's a huge transport needed to bring that to us. And that's also producing carbon emissions.
So when we talk about mechanization of agriculture, you're talking about mechanization is a negative. And people are even going further with drones, sprinkling seeds and all this stuff. Where does this leave us in the climate change discuss?
Well, a very important point that was made at the Congress is that the way we've been doing agriculture, so-called industrialized agriculture, is simplification. We take a complex thing called nature or called an ecosystem, we remove everything, we put only one crop, we kill everything else except that one crop, and then we try to grow only that one crop. But nature needs to be complex.
Wow.
Ecosystems need to be complex in order for the bees to live, that
The web.
pollinate our trees, the bats that also help pollinate our trees. And there's a whole range of thousands of organisms that actually need to live in the same space for us to have a healthy environment.
Wow.
So we need to leave the paradigm of simplification and return to a paradigm of a complex agriculture where a lot of species are interacting, living together in biodiversity.
Wow.
And we're not getting one crop from one field, but we're getting a lot of small harvests of different types from the same plot of land.
Wow. So you're still talking about mixed farming and shifting cultivations and all those kind of things. Is that where your point of argument is going, driving towards?
Well, to some extent, we are indeed going back to the roots. Looking at what were people doing before we industrialized agriculture and trying to learn from that. We need to go back to having many things mixed together in the same areas again.
I know you're very passionate about environmental, so I don't want us to go too far. I want us to go back to the agro conference, which is a very interesting point for me. What was the theme, and where did you have innovative presentations and exhibitions at the event?
Well, there were about 1,200 people attending the Congress. And if I recall correctly, I think about 600 presentations were held.
Wow,
If you
6,000.
600.
600.
If you include both the oral and the poster presentations. And everybody was showcasing his or her research or latest discoveries that were related to agroforestry.
So if we come back to the continent, was there one that stood out for you? One presentation from the exhibition that
I'm
stood
a
out for
little
you?
bit biased. I had my own presentation.
Oh, so what was your presentation about?
My presentation was about how we can take the wild trees from the Sahel and the Sahara and create food markets based on these trees.
Wow, that's innovative. That's innovative. So I think we're going to have another session about this. There are so many links that we need to connect when we talk about climate change. So it's been nice chatting with you, and I look forward to having you on another session. Thank you very much, Mr. Gandhi.